Infinite Rider on the Big Dogma. It's the brand new album from Michael Nesmith on the Pacific Arts label. Hello, and welcome to the Michael Nesmith Radio Special. For the next hour, we'll be playing tracks from the new album and talking about everything from Jimi Hendrix to the future of television and video. Now, the first thing you'll notice about the album is it's a rock and roll record.
Here comes another blow. You take it on the chin. But hold on, mama, you just don't understand. I said all I wanna do is dance and have a good time. I said all I wanna do is dance and too and have a good time. I'm stuck in the freeway. I'm stuck in the woods. I'm trying like the Dickens not to get stuck for good. All I wanna do is dance and have a good time. I said all I wanna do is dance around with you and have a good time. Come on, fly away with me, baby. And just fly away with me. Let's hit the streets to find a retreat and dance away all this mystery. I'm working every day and I'm trying to make a dollar. Boy, I'm too distraction. I'm just trying not to holler. I said all I wanna do is dance and have a good time. I said all I wanna do is dance around with you and have a good time. Hey, all right. All I wanna do is dance and too and have a good time. Yes, all I wanna do is dance around with you and have a good time.
Michael Nesmith was born in Houston, Texas, grew up in Dallas, but didn't think he was that good at first.
In high school, I was a lead singer in a rock and roll band with a couple of kids around, and I tried to play E-flat saxophone with a rock and roll band for a while, which never worked out, and I wanted very much to hang out with the people who were making music in high school, but I was never good enough to do it. I can remember nights in Texas. There was a guy who played the organ in the window of a music store, and I would stand outside that man's little display case there for literally hours because I loved the live music. The only type of music that was really appealing to me on a gut level was the early black and R&B music, because of course that was very highly evolved music. But the white rock and rollers, nothing happened to me for Elvis Presley. Zip. Nothing happened to me for the early Jerry Lee Lewis stuff, or Big Bopper, or Buddy Holly. I mean, they just passed me by. It was interesting. I liked it. It was hit music, and I was involved in the social boogie of the thing. But in terms of something just socking me in my stomach, nothing happened until Bo Diddley, or the early Ike and Tina Turner when they were out of St. Louis, or Bobby Blue Bland, or Freddie King, or those guys that were hanging out there.
This night is magic, I can tell by the stars. This night is magic, you in my arms. It would be tragic if we ever part. Tonight is magic all over. You know
Michael Nesmith from his new album Infinite Rider on the Big Dogma. A much more intricate project than with his old band that nobody will let him forget.
In order to understand the Monkees, the first thing that you have to understand is that it was not a rock and roll phenomena. It had nothing whatsoever to do with rock and roll. It existed in a rock and roll environment. It existed in a time when any four people together on the street were considered a rock and roll group, and that was educated to us because of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, the groups that were around, and because of the emergence into economic power of those forces, because they had always been groups around of potent musical energy, but really it was the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and those folks who moved it into big business. The Monkees were a television show. They were a television item, and we were the beginning, as it were, of the impact that television has ultimately come to have. Even in the middle 1960s, the full realization of the impact of the medium of television was not upon us. It probably still isn't. And at some point, there'll have to be a recognition. I don't think anyone has assessed that yet. But the Monkees were what they were the phenomena that they were, because of the television show. The Monkees were a bona fide television article. They were a bona fide television phenomena. And that's where the Monkees ultimately fit. And if you watch the Monkees movie Head with willingness to understand what's going on there, you'll catch on to just exactly what the Monkees were all about.
You get the moon, I'll get the stars. You get the wind, I'll get the cars. You make the stops and I'll make the starts tonight. You get the goma, I'll get the biz. Lucille Ball, Desi Arnaz. I've got the soap, you get the
The Monkees were big in England as well as America, and Michael tells a great story about their first concerts with Jimi Hendrix.
Mickey Dolenz wandered in to see Jimi Hendrix playing in a club there and came back, and he said, I found this terrific guy, and I want to take him to open the show for us, and so I agreed to that, along with the other three guys. They agreed. And then the next day I was with John Lennon in a club, and he had this little tape recorder, and he played me this song, which was Hey Joe by Jimmy. He said, isn't this incredible? And I said, oh yeah, that's fantastic. And who is that? He said, Jimi Hendrix. Oh my gosh, we just hired him. And so Jimmy's first big power concert dates in the United States were played in front of a bunch of little Screaming Monkeys fans. But now there's a good case in point, you see, because he lasted about, I think we had 32 or 40 dates, and I think he made it like to 12 of them. Finally, on stage at Forest Hills in New York, he gave everybody the finger, issued an expletive, and walked off stage in the middle of his set. Hendrix invented psychedelic music, and his was a type of guitar playing and a type of music that had inextricably interwoven with the psychedelics and the whole time the Haight-Ashbury and the drug culture. And the Monkees had nothing whatsoever to do with any of that. So when Hendrix was on stage with the Monkees, it was absolutely two different things. It was like having your mouth all set for pineapple and getting lemon. It's just, they may look alike, but they were two entirely different animals. And Hendrix, rightly so, had no desire to play in front of a bunch of 10 to 14-year-old girls waving their arms.
Silks and satins and velvets, soft evenings and penthouse nights. Way down below me, remains of the city streets shine. I hear the soul and the heart of the city, it pounds. While I fly up here on 2,000 feet above ground. It happened tonight, I had to do it or die. It happened tonight, I finally learned how to fly. And so diving and soaring and swirling, I fly like the wind. How did I do it? I wouldn't even know where to begin. I was playing the solo on my electric guitar. And the next thing I know, I'm sailing around through the air. It just happened tonight, and I had to do it or die. It happened tonight, I finally learned how to fly. I'm flying, what more can I say? It's a thrill beyond words, it completely captures the day. And so now I'll go flying as well as go dancing all night. I feel like a feather, I feel like a small beam of light. It just happened tonight, I had to do it or die. It happened tonight, I finally learned how to fly.
Silks and Satins. That's called Flying from Michael Nesmith's new LP, Infinite Rider on the Big Dogma. But back to our story. After the inevitable breakup of the Monkees, Michael settled in Southern California.
The music business in Los Angeles was just one of the places on the planet that would accommodate the way I thought at that time. And so I came there with no real idea of what to expect or what to get or where to get it, just recognizing that I had to be in the place that would accommodate in the best way my own type of thinking. There was a club in L.A. called the Troubadour, and a bunch of folkies hung out. And that was where there was a lot of music born on the streets during that time. I like to think back of the L.A. days in the Troubadour, and I think, gosh, there was Stephen Stills and Linda Ronstadt and the Byrds and then go on and on and on, and Neil Young, and those were the people that I was hanging out with at the Troubadour, and I was running the hoots there. I was the master of ceremonies and played a little bit. And all these people who've since gone on to a place in the popular music, and everybody that had any part of that will share in some of that luster. But in terms of there being a central figure, one person of monumental importance that goes on forever, like people want to give Dylan, God bless him, he has to carry that mantle for a long time, and he doesn't, I'm sure he doesn't want it, and I know he doesn't deserve it, and it's very heavy to carry, and if we all stop and take a look at what's going on, you realize that the emergence of rock and roll is in 2,000 years is gonna have to go up against other signal events in our time. A lot of people say that I pioneered country rock music and that I was responsible for this kind of sound and that kind of song, all of which is utter balderdash. There was a lot of us doing that at that time, and I wasn't doing it as well as a lot of the people were doing it. And under any circumstances, to me, it wasn't this great abiding kind of impulse that I had to play country rock music. It was just simply working in a form that I was comfortable working in, something like a painter works in oils. And then people kept looking at the painting and say, "Oh my, he's pioneered acrylics," and it has the same kind of effect. And all, so what?
The stars in the night played a blue karaoke. The moon shone outside as the planet revolved. The wind was caressed with the fragrance of summer. The night gentle nature impelled us to love. And I sat alone on a beach by a palm tree. Your silhouette cast a glow on the sand. And there with the sound of the waves and the smell of gardenias, two lovers sailed on romance through a magical land. Dancing and dancing all night to that blue karaoke, living the wonderful dream that remains, caught up inside of a blue karaoke. Two lovers fly on its lovely refrain. Blind, blind on karaoke. Blind,
if you think of it not so much in terms of a cultural impact, because as history goes on, I think we'll turn around and see that it was not a source material. It wasn't that anyone dreamed up something new and that suddenly it was injected in the culture and changed everything, but it was the result of a cultural thought. The thoughts had developed at that point, and the Beatles were very visible because they were very good. What I think of as the Beatles, and what I perceive as the Beatles' place that they occupy, is much like the score of a movie in a drama, and in my mind, the Beatles scored the 1960s. They provided the score for the movie that we all lived out during that decade. But in terms of their having this big cultural impact, we'll probably see that history will ultimately recognize that it was just the other way around, that it was a culture that brought the Beatles to the front, and that the Beatles were the result of that thought during that time.
We'll return with more of Infinite Rider on the Big Dogma with Michael Nesmith.